When you come from the top of the hill into Las Vegas, neon pops out. This is the first thing that you see for miles. The sky over Las Vegas is so bright that you can hardly see the stars. Las Vegas is a city of bright castles, treasure islands, and a mirage of dreams come true. The true magic of Vegas is revealed when night comes and the fantastic casino buildings are flooded with light. Of all of the spectrum, neon is the most visible and attractive light. And Las Vegas confidently calls itself the City of Neon. But how did it all start, and where does the future of the City of Neon lead?
The idea of obtaining light through electrifying gas dates back to the end of the 17th century, but the first prototype was created in 1856 when Henrik Geissler started experimenting with a sealed low-pressure tube in which he produced light by using a high-voltage alternating current. Geissler's experiments showed us that all gases or vapors are capable of carrying a current, but only some can produce a light more efficiently than incandescent lamps. Unfortunately, the gases known at that time all had a chemical reaction with the electrodes that caused the electrodes to deteriorate. In 1907, Georges Claude began to utilize liquid air on a scale large enough to make the liquefaction process commercially feasible. Claude's goal at the time was to achieve a cheap but high-quality method of producing oxygen, which was in much demand by hospitals. In this process, he found that as a byproduct, there are sizable quantities of rare gases. Searching for a way to utilize these gases, he began filling tubes with neon and bombarding them with electricity. With neon, he achieved a clear, intense pink color. With argon, a purple blue. He found that by coating the interior surface of the glass, he could increase the range of basic colors. In 1915, Georges Claude patented an electrode that possessed a high resistance to corrosion. This removed the final obstacle, and the birth of widespread neon use began. In 1923, a Los Angeles car dealer named Earl C. Anthony brought from Paris the first neon sign. Anthony paid $1,250 each for two blue-bordered signs reading Packard. These signs literally stopped traffic in downtown Los Angeles. People came from miles around to see this new spectacular. Much like the town itself, the earliest Las Vegas signs were primitive and lacking refinement. Long before Fremont Street was christened Glitter Gulch, it was bordered with a melange of painted signs, which, at best, were dimly lit in the evening by the few electric streetlights which had been installed in 1907. As 1920 came to a close and America tumbled into dark economic depression, Las Vegas began to glow with its first neon signs. Even before gambling was legalized in 1931, Fremont Street was exhibiting its first examples of the new sign medium, neon. The electric sign company to make the most significant impact on the desert community over the next 3 decades was the Thomas Young Sign Company of Ogden, Utah. John Renton Young, the son of Thomas Young, remembers the beginning of what we see today as Fremont Street.
So what happened is that my father, when they started Yesco here, he would go to the first one, which was the Las Vegas Club, on the corner of Fremont and Main Street. And where the Union Plaza is today, that was the railroad station. So he would sell them a sign, and it was a lot of chasing lights and some neon. And then he went to the next casino down the street of Fremont, and he sold them a little bit bigger sign. And then he did that all the way down to 4th Street, and each hotel then was buying one bigger than the next door neighbor. And finally, the first one that he did, which was the Las Vegas Club, they said, oh, now you've made us the smallest, though we were your first. We do now want to have our bigger sign than anybody. And it just started from that and just rolled right on into a glitz, for a better word, of designing not only advertising, but the excitement of the gaming in Las Vegas. Then after a period of time, just a couple of the casinos started on the Strip. One was Bugsy Siegel's Flamingo. The other one was the old Last Frontier Hotel, and then the old Rancho. And they were just out in the wilderness, nearly. And then it started the same as it did on Fremont Street as the strip started growing south and more casinos came in. There was more of the larger type of signs to be introduced. And there, they started with entertainment. They had the billboards that would tell who was appearing, and it then became Las Vegas became the center of entertainment throughout the world and gambling. And of course today we see the end results of that effort from what it was done in 1948.
The art of neon sign making hasn't changed since its creation. The three basic elements that compose a neon sign unit have remained the same: the tube filled with gas, the electrodes, and the transformer. And most important, the bending of the tube, the welding of the electrodes, and bringing the sign to life remains a completely handcrafted process.
A tube bender starts with a straight 15mm tube, which is most commonly used. He has a non-asbestos fireproof pattern on which everything is made in reverse. The next step is to heat the tube over the burners. He uses a cross burner for the tight bends and a ribbon burner for heating larger areas of the tube. While heating the tube bender uses a hose to blow air into the tube so the tube doesn't collapse and an even air pressure is maintained. After completing the bend, which has to follow the pattern exactly, the tube bender welds the electrodes onto each end of the tube. After that, he bombards the tube with high-voltage electricity, and so all the impurities are burned off. After he takes the air out of the tube, it's ready to be filled with neon or argon gas. Even though the process hasn't changed, other things such as the glass lead content and the gas manifold units have changed.
The more lead in a piece of glass, and you have, when you put it down on there, you can go back and forth for a little while. But you take some of this new stuff, and you can't do that, because if you do, the end of it will pop right out. Okay, I'll make my bend. Lay it down on the table, and I can still work it back and forth, or I can pick it up and look at it and still. But with the non-leaded glass, I wouldn't even try that.
But the older craftsmen still prefer the old traditional media.
This manifold here? Yeah, I built it myself. The new ones coming out now, they call them high-tech, they call them this, they call them that. They're made out of Pyrex, so many of them. Now, if you break that, when you're using Pyrex, you have to send away for a piece. You might be down a week or two. If I break something here, I'm back in business in an hour and a half maybe.
Many new colors can be created through a combination of the fluorescent coating of the tube and the color of the gas pumped into the tube. You can make almost any color you want, but they still haven't found a way to make brown.
The tubing here, now this one and this one are exactly the same color, until you put red gas in one and blue gas into the other. Now these two are the same color when you look at them here, but they will take on a different color when you put the red in and the blue. And it's all the way down the line here. These are your two clear ones. I'll turn it on now and you can see this is your neo blue, and this is what they call the raspberry. Some glass blowers might call it something else, I don't know. This is your clear bright yellow with argon and mercury. This is with neon, which is a warm orange. What do you got here? Purple. Is that the purple? Here's your purple tube with argon in it, and this is your purple tube with your neon in it, but they have told us not to use this anymore, because over a period of short time even, this will have a tendency to lose its color, and you cannot match it with another piece. And I found it out real quick. Same way, here's your clear, blue in it, and red in it. Here is turquoise with blue in it, and this is the turquoise tubing, that color, with red gas, which changes it to a peach. What do you got? White. No, that's your, what, 6500 white?
Yeah.
6500 white that we use a lot of, and then this is more or less a coral color. Some glass blowers call it something else. I don't know, but that's what I was told. Here is your regular green with argon, and your tangerine when it's pumped red. That's the same color tube. Actually, the phosphorus coating is the same. And then here's, what's it, this is your powdered blue, and this is a powdered blue. This is the same color if you put a light tester to it, but when you put red in it, then you get the pink.
It is amazing how long it takes to perfect the skill of tube bending, and it still remains a challenge every time a tube bender takes a new tube into his hands. Roy, who has 50 years of experience in tube bending, confirms what kind of challenge this craft is.
No glass blower can call himself a complete journeyman until he's got 10 years. I'm still learning different tricks once in a while. And I got 50 years in, but there's things that I find out that I used to do one way that you do another way.
Gene, who has been in the trade since 1947, still has his good and bad days.
It takes a lot of patience, especially when you first start, because one day you go in a shop and, boy, everything clicks. The next day you go in there and nothing works. And it's just frustrating at first. And you just got to hang in there and work out the wrinkles.
I fell in love with neon and wanted to learn how to bend glass, and it's been one of the hardest things I've ever had to learn. It's taken me about 3.5 years to perfect it, get my welds and blow it out right and not blow too much or too little, and yeah, it's been hard.
What are the most important qualities that a tube bender has to acquire? And what is the fascination with the tube bending process itself for those men who literally have spent a lifetime in this trade?
The trick is patience. Patience. I've had to learn patience.
Every piece of glass is a challenge when you pick it up. Are you going to do it right or are you going to goof it up? It's the challenge part about it that I like.
Roy has a firm opinion of what qualities a tube bender has to acquire.
The thing is, you have to have a good eye, you have to have a good set of hands, and you better have good nerves.
Gene, who has been in the trade almost 50 years also, agrees with that and adds,
Hand and eye coordination, I would say, because the right hand don't know what your left hand's doing half the time. And it just takes a lot of practice.
Love of the trade and a joy of creating are key factors that make these people dedicate themselves to tube bending.
I wish the good Lord would give me another 50 because I love this trade. Oh, I love it.
Even though the core of the creation process lies in the lab of the tube bender, there are several other stages before a sign comes to life. The concept of a sign starts at the designer's desk, goes through the neon department, and continues to come to life in the sheet metal department. Large units of the sign are assembled together in this department, but final assembly of the unit usually takes place in the field. The neon is energy efficient. It's the most visible light and the longest lasting.
Neon has been the principal type of illumination for electric signs.
Neon is, first of all, it's extremely energy efficient. When we put a transformer on here, if this takes a 9,000 volt transformer, then we'll be pulling 2.3 amps, which is very, very low compared to, say, a fluorescent type light box with this on here. Fluorescent type lighting pulls basically an amp a lamp, where this one you have to only deal with the transformer, and the total draw for this sign will be 2 amps. So over a month's time, it may cost the customer $2 in electricity to operate this sign.
Neon can last for 10 years. It can last for longer than that, but usually a 10-year life expectancy is norm. Where your light bulbs themselves are only good for, let's say, 4,000 or 5,000 hours, which means you have to change them completely for 1.5 times per year on the average.
It's a very effective advertising medium because it's very energy efficient, properly installed, it lasts a very long time. You can flash it very rapidly, so it lends itself to animation. And that's why it's used in Las Vegas, because you can achieve the freeform shapes, the different colors. You can animate it very quickly. And so it really lends itself to the large, very large, huge spectaculars here in Las Vegas. And it lends itself to the mom and pop type of business, because they can have a little custom sign in the color they choose, and it lasts a long time. It works for both.
The other real feature to neon is that it's very, very low maintenance. If a tube is blown properly, then it can last up to 25 years. If the expectancy of the transformer is 7 to 10 years.
An interesting case from the mid-70s gives us a clue how much electricity is used by the casinos for illumination.
Well, the mid-70s is what you would call it a brownout. It was during the winter time. They were having tremendous storms back east, and people couldn't get electricity, but yet then when they turn on the television, they see Las Vegas with all its lights and its signs on and what have you. And so to show goodwill, let's say Las Vegas to the rest of the world, was that they would turn off their signs in sympathy for the people who were having problems even heating their homes back east and that. So from that, they, when the opportune time came, a few weeks later after they had turned them off, we had the Nevada Power Company here in Las Vegas do a study on the use of electricity with the signs and the lighting on compared to having them off. And then it was determined by the power company that of all the signs and of all of the lighting that we have down the strip and every place else for the gaming, that it only amounted to 2.5% of the electricity used in Las Vegas. At that time, even the governor said, "We'll never do this again." We don't use that kind of electricity. And even now, we're being more energy efficient in the way that we're using new techniques, that we are now even improving that position of using a lot less electricity than what we used to.
Neon is an attractive medium not only because of its efficiency, but because of its capabilities to be shaped in any form like no other light medium.
Well, neon is often referred to as liquid light because, as we've seen in the process of bending the glass, is heated up to almost a liquid consistency so that we can shape it in just about any shape or form that we want it to do.
There are several uses of neon, starting with its most popular form, the sign, and continuing with neon sculptures, architectural lighting, and indirect lighting.
When we talk about neon in a commercial medium, it has a variety of uses from interior to exterior. Interior usage for cove lighting would be a nice application. We can go with a variety of colors. Most often is a choice of warm white, and it's an unexposed light. We hide it in a cove so that we just bounce the light onto the soffit or to a wall area to create an ambiance of light without actually seeing the source of the light. When we move to the exterior realm, then we can use it to architecturally light up that building, which means that we run a border of light that follows the path of the building to help show off those architectural lines during the night. We can also move into a signage realm of individually lit letters, which can be either directly illuminated and exposed, or we cover them with a plastic face so that you see the light but you don't see the source of the light, or we can do a reverse halo effect so that the letters are pegged off of the wall and then the neon is behind the letters and it flashes onto the wall and lights up the area around the letter. Those would be some common types of neon that you see, as well as exposed graphic neon that can follow any size or any shape, any color, and create a visual display for you. Well, neon is becoming more popular again. Of course, it was the major advertising medium from the early 20s through World War II. And after World War II is when plastics and fluorescents really became available to the commercial marketplace. So up until almost the early 70s, neon almost died. At one point, there were less than 200 tube benders left in the United States. And as we've heard before, it takes quite a long time to become a master tube bender. So there was a real threat that this was an art that was going to die.
We are approaching the 21st century, and it seems that the face of this town changes ever more quickly. The major competitors are calling for bigger and brighter castles. The Strip is growing and changing literally every day. Now neon is seen once again as a wave of the future. You have to see Vegas at night to understand the magic of light as a glory of colors and shapes. The unique face of this town is found in its signs and the bright architectural lighting. Tokyo is the only city in the world that can compete with Vegas as a neon capital of the world.
Las Vegas has always maintained and always has been the city of neon.
I consider Vegas a neon capital.
Nothing in the United States gets close to Vegas in the presence of neon.
Well, of course, we think that we're the neon capital of the world, you know. I doubt that there's any other place that has more neon than Las Vegas, with maybe the exception of Tokyo.
But in Las Vegas, it's become such an art form and really taken such a stronghold of that type of medium, neon and medium, that it's got to be number one.
The sign architects of Las Vegas are major contributors to this world of fun and fantasy, and the design of spectaculars and architectural lighting have not reached their limits.